there you will learn how we learn morality by emotions and how emotions may limit our moral decisions. Our knowledge about these issues stems from psychologists, but they owe it to philosophers who made us aware of the role of emotions. So, according to the famous English philosopher David Hume, 18th century, who lived in the times of Adam Smith, our reason provides us a justification for the decision which we have already made based on our feelings. So reason is slave of affects. According to his contemporary Adam Smith, 18th century, and his theory of moral sentiments, people seek mutual sympathy of sentiments. We don't do harm because we would feel emotionally bad, seeing the negative reaction at others.
You are so stupid.
We find similar explanation of morality 200 of years later in the theory of mirror neurons. If somebody around us feels badly, for instance because we have harmed somebody, we would feel badly as well because our neurons are reflecting the emotional state of another person. So this gives us the motive to avoid such situations. And so we have a natural preference to avoid harming other persons. But how do we come to differentiate between good and bad? How do we know that we have to use this scale of good and bad for judging actions? May we assume that our morality is inborn? In a certain sense, yes. We probably have a grammar of morality already there. It may be compared to the idea developed by Noam Chomsky, born 1928, of innate grammar which permits us to learn language. In learning language, we inductively differentiate between nouns and verbs. So learning morality will similarly categorize actions as good or bad. We have them already in us. This reflection may be found in many spiritual and religious intuitions, as for instance a Hebrew one according to which people are born with Torah law inside. Which other capacities help us to understand the emotions of others? Firstly, to differentiate living beings from material objects and feel empathy. Secondly, declarative showing, which is a typical human capability to follow the fingers of another person pointing to something. This allows us to learn the perspective of another person, to learn other objects apart from those objects which are interesting for us. Thirdly, we have to be able to take the perspective of another. The small child can't take the perspective of other persons, thinking that other persons see the world as they do. This explains in the sequence of pictures you find on the slide. The child thinks that in the box there are Smarties, but after opening it, sees that there are pencils, but still thinks that if another child will come in and will see the box, they will guess that there are pencils inside. It cannot understand that the child will make the same error and say Smarties. What exactly are moral emotions and how do we learn them? Moral emotions are emotions which guide our moral decisions, even if not always rationally. We can imagine moral emotions as an emotional channel. We learn them in different cultural contexts and acquire 5 different emotions: damage, reciprocity, hierarchy, reference group, and purity, which are characteristic for ethics of autonomy, community, and divinity, or according to Declarative, ethics of individual, family, or community. The ethics of individual, called autonomy, are focused on moral emotions which are characteristic of individual cultures, not to damage and not to harm another person, but also reciprocity. The sense of compulsion to reciprocate may be even stronger than rationality. If somebody is giving something to us, we are tempted to give it back, good or bad. Sometimes we really have to invest much effort not to do it. Okay. Let's take an example. If you offer another person let's say a cup of coffee, and the other person is not responding with the same or a similar attitude, you would feel negatively about that. Similarly, if some person bumped into you and didn't say anything, you would get angry. If he says sorry, you may feel calmed. Sometimes this strategy can be used by a salesman. A person who sells something offers you a special bonus or lowers the price for you, or offers you extra time, so you may feel obliged to buy a product. This context has its parallel in the second stage of callback. In the ethics of family or community, you learn 2 other emotions of hierarchy and reference group. You learn to obey the hierarchy even if it is at the cost of autonomous emotions like reciprocity or harm. So we may explain why people obeyed the authorities in the Milgram experiment, even if they felt compassion and realized the unfairness of such obedient behavior. The hierarchy emotion was even stronger. We find here a correspondence to the 3rd level of the moral development by Kolbeck. Such emotions are important for the society as a whole because they facilitate the process of organizing the society. It makes it possible to be ready to listen to the teacher or experts or other authorities. How would we protect the country or your family without feeling in addition to knowing that it is right? Even cognitive psychologists stress the reason alone wouldn't do. We can compare various options, but we won't be able to choose one. The ethics of community, also called divinity, accentuates a moral emotion of purity, a moral emotion which can also be called obeying a particular law, important for a community. It's not about recognizing and obeying authority, but certain rules which may stay in conflict with the hierarchy. We find such a situation in the ancient drama of Sophocles, Antigone, who obeys the moral law burying her brother and not obeying the hierarchy, King Creon, who has forbidden it. Even if she chooses, there is conflict visible between these 2 moral emotions, which makes the drama, after so many centuries, still so beautiful. This brings us back to issues discussed at the 4th and 5th stage of the moral development by Kolbeck. We may ask, looking at Bonhoeffer, an evangelical pastor, anti-Nazi dissident in the Second World War, if his decision not to surrender to the Nazi authority, but only to the divine law, risking and losing his life, he was hanged on 9th April 1945 was based on such moral purity. In summary, emotions help us to develop moral sense. To learn morality, we need some prerequisites like moral feeling, declarative showing, changing our perspective. Our emotional moral development happens in stages. We learn 5 basic emotions: damage, reciprocity, hierarchy, our reference group, and purity, which we learn in various social contexts, individual, family, or community. The larger our context is, the stronger our emotions can be to guide our decisions. Thank you for your attention.